Here we are at the final week of the regular season. Crazy to think that we just burnt through 18 weeks of football and just life. I mean, it went from being nice and sunny and warm out to being like freezing, and now it's 2024. Just crazy. But excited to get into these games. Not the best week of football because there's going to be a lot of teams that just sit their starters, but some really good games amidst that. And yeah, I don't even think this past week was very good, but some good games amidst all the kind of rubbish, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. The one sad thing, though, is that fantasy for most people is now over.
Yeah, except for our league.
Yeah, well, I'm not in it, so...
Well, you got the third place game,
I mean, well, who
I
cares?
got the fifth place game.
No, it doesn't even really matter. But, yeah, just like all the championships, for the most part, end after week 17, and so...
Yep.
Very sad after a long season of intense roster management and waiver claims to see that come to a close.
It is a little sad, but definitely, weight lift off my plate, one less task
That's
to
true.
do.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge investment, fantasy
It is,
football,
bro.
especially when you're in multiple leagues for a
Yeah.
lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like it takes a lot of time.
Yeah,
So,
neither of us won a championship for some money this year,
No,
which kind
yeah.
of sucks.
I won one for no money. Does that
Yeah.
count?
Yeah, I mean, it's still nice for the brownie points and the
Yeah, no.
self-esteem.
It's like, of course,
But-
that's the one I win.
Right.
Even
yeah,
though
it's
that was a
annoying.
competitive league still.
Yeah, I know. That's
It
so
sucks.
tough, man.
It's tough. Oh, well. Next year.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get into it with the thumbnail stats. Corner QB back to losing. They had the anomaly when 2-0-1 against the Cowboys last week. And the refs, they knew about this. And so they accurately threw the flag or whatever. They ignored the guy checking in and becoming eligible or whatever it was. There was a whole kerfuffle at the end of that game. Either way, bottom line, they knew Goff was the corner QB, and therefore the Lions couldn't win.
That was like the craziest ending I've ever seen, bro. I don't know if you saw like the post-game interview, but Goff was saying that he's not sure if he'll get fined for saying this, but people are going to say that it's fixed. Like, it's fixed. But like, it's not. And I don't know. It was just like the weirdest thing because he was talking about like the NFL being fixed and he was worried about getting fined for saying that. But he was like, Decker reported as eligible. So I'm not sure why they called that penalty.
So is he saying it's fixed or not fixed?
He's saying that it's fixed, or he's saying that it's not fixed, but people would be saying that it's fixed. Like
Right,
that, just
okay.
like audience members. But he
Interesting.
was still saying that like the guy that got a penalty called on him did not. I'm sorry, I'm really skewing this. That he did report as
No, yeah, I
eligible.
know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I remember I saw that guy Decker's post game interview. But that's crazy. Some kind of honest thoughts from Goff there at the end.
Yeah, I
You
know.
don't really get
What is
players
that about?
talking about like even referencing the fact that parts of the NFL might be fixed or scripted or influenced by the refs in any sort of way.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I feel like he's likely to incur a pretty significant fine for saying something like
yeah,
that.
he might get slapped with one for sure.
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah, I mean, they said that there were multiple other penalties on top of that, anyways. Though,
Yeah.
like they said that there was something else that would have also nullified the 2-point conversion. So
Right. It was just such a confusing ending. Like,
Yeah.
because both of these teams are going to be in the playoffs. You
Right.
know? Like, if it were some other team that were like borderline, like almost like a Buffalo situation, like they needed to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Like,
man, that would have been really bad. Like if that happens this week against Miami,
Right.
Buffalo, Miami.
yeah, exactly. But in a game like Dallas and Detroit, I can't see how that it would be like, I don't know, something like where it's fixed because there's no reason that either one of those.
Well, I mean,
teams.
it certainly still could be fixed by like Vegas or whoever they wanted to, win
Yeah.
the game.
Right.
And where the money ends up falling. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just didn't think that there would be like a significant portion on one side or the other in a game that like Detroit and Dallas were like two pretty evenly matched teams.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. So, yeah, well, Dallas pulls it out. Luckily, it looked like they weren't for a while there, but they got lucky with that, and it ends up really influencing the division. Although
Yeah.
I think that even if they lost, because Philadelphia lost, Dallas would still win the division. Not really sure how that would have worked. Actually, I'm not sure that would have even been the case because they lost to Miami. I think they'll finish with the same record. Very interesting stuff, but I guess we just kind of covered that game without even getting to it yet. But
Yeah.
the left and right QBs, the left QB is on a 2-game winning streak, and so Lamar Jackson holds that up. I think Josh Allen's going to be the left QB this week. Tua is going to be the right QB. Who do you think is in the corner, though?
The corner QB this week? I feel like it should be, I guess, are they going to bench Joe Flacco this week?
Yeah, I would probably. I mean, I wouldn't play him the whole game. I mean, I don't think they're even going to play him at all because
he needs to make a corner appearance, though, in the playoffs.
He might have to. Especially if he plays well in the first game. Maybe he could appear for the divisional round. But
yeah,
it's a big game this week. Big game, but really only one star
T-Law.
QB.
Yeah,
T-Law?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. Is he playing or is CJ Beathard still starting?
I think he'll play, but I opted for CJ Stroud.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite surprised.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest games this week, just in terms of thriller aspect to it or
you sure you don't want to add Gardner Minshew in there?
See, Gardner Minshew's not eye-catching enough to be worthy of a QB corner spot.
Oh, trust me, I understand that. Just the problem here lies in the fact that the corner QB is going to lose.
Trust me, I know. I mean, I'm going to pick Houston this week as well, so it's weird. We're going to have to defy, the fate of the universe in the corner QB.
Yeah, this is just absolute anarchy here because not only are you putting CJ in the corner, you're picking Houston.
I know.
Which is, again,
world's falling apart.
This is just craziness in Week 18 here.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that game here in just a moment. But, yeah, just recapping our picks from Week 17. Jake went 10-6, bringing his total to 154 and 102. I somehow managed to go 14-2.
You went nuts. Absolutely crazy.
Man, if only I picked Pittsburgh. The only game I would never have picked is Arizona over Philadelphia. But there was a part of me that kind of wanted to pick Pittsburgh over Seattle. That would have been, my best record of the entire season. But I did have a 14-2 week it was probably like a few months ago at this point. I do remember having a 14-2 before.
Didn't you have a 1-loss week or no?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
14-2 is my best. It was like week 5 or 6 or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, that was just absolutely crazy. I don't think I've ever done one with just 2 losses.
Yeah.
Maybe there was one, actually. I think there was one.
We'll have to go back and dissect it, when there's not as much to talk about.
But it was not 14. It might have been like 12-2.
When there were a few buys, yeah. Yeah, 10-2 maybe.
Something like that.
So, yeah, 162 and 94 for me, which is like 64.9% or something like that, I believe. I did the math this morning. Anyways, getting on to Thursday Night Football, Jets at Cleveland. Went how we thought, just a lot more high scoring. Joe Flacco just went nuts. I think he threw for like 298 yards in the first half and then only 8 yards in the second half or something crazy like that.
That's just a ridiculous stat.
Yeah.
Like the under, it would have soared under in the second half.
It would have.
But the first half just went absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I mean, he threw a pick 6, I believe, as well. So that also adds to the points. But yeah, I mean, the Jets are just hopeless at this point. Really not a whole lot to discuss. I think Cleveland looks really good. Losing Elijah Moore is probably going to hurt them, but not sure how long he'll be out.
And Amari was out this past week as well, so hopefully
that led to Elijah's big game.
Yeah, but so hopefully he's back in good shape for the playoffs here.
Yeah, I hope they're healthy because I'd really love to see Joe Flacco have to play the Ravens again.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
I know. I'd love it. Yeah, we already talked about Detroit at Dallas. Did you have any more thoughts on that?
The CD going nuts with 230 yards. I mean, he's finishing the season as like wide receiver 1 over Tyreek. And I mean, he actually got pretty close to Tyreek's number, like his receiving yardage. Like I think Tyreek was at like 1739 maybe at my last check-in.
Sounds about right.
And after last week's game, CD's up to 1650. So like we thought that Tyreek was just absolutely pulling away with it here, and yet CD is just within like 80 of them.
CD's had some humongous games. Like he even had a pretty good game against Buffalo when they lost. I know he had the only touchdown in that game. I think it was a rushing touchdown though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just am worried what happens when a team defends CD Lamb very well and then Dak has to go elsewhere with the ball. I mean, Brandon Cooks has been all right and Jake Ferguson as well. But I'm a little worried about them. They seem a little bit like a one-trick pony.
Yeah, just a little bit strange for them to finally lose here at home. Or, sorry, not lose. They
basically lost.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be real. Detroit, I mean, it's tough, man. Like, if they kick the extra point, go to overtime. If they
Yeah,
get
I mean,
the
it could have
ball,
happened. Maybe that's what it was. The refs didn't want Dallas to lose
they
at
wanted to go
home.
home, or that. Yes,
Yeah.
I mean that as well.
Yeah.
A whole lot of craziness.
I
with that
remember
game.
I had actually like put the check on or the X on here for us like right after the initial like 2-point
Oh
conversion.
really? No
yeah,
way.
I literally was on the dock immediately,
Wow.
and then I had to swap it afterwards for the check. So that's why
Dude,
I
it's
was
like-
thinking like I can't believe Dallas lost for the first time at home, but then they didn't.
It's like Doctor Strange in the time zone, just
Yeah,
like going
I
back
know,
a couple
I know, it
minutes.
was
That's
crazy.
Tennessee at Houston, pretty boring game here. Houston just annihilated them, but Ryan Tannehill came in, actually played pretty good for the time that he was in this game after Will Levis got hurt and got knocked out of the game.
I'm surprised that they didn't start Tannehill.
Yeah, they
Aren't you?
probably should have because Will Levis clearly wasn't fully
Right.
healthy yet.
Mhm.
I think his injury was related to the ankle that he had before. So not a great look for them. Tannehill probably start again, which is probably not great news for Jacksonville. I think
Yeah.
Tannehill gives them a better chance to win, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Atlanta at Chicago. See, Atlanta is just so bad in cold weather, and Chicago's been so hot and good at home lately. This felt like kind of a no-brainer for me, and really happy to see that the Bears play well. I still think that Justin Fields needs to go, and
The crowd doesn't agree with you, though.
No, I know.
Sadly,
He
the crowd
definitely-
be chanting, "We want Fields," and it was pretty surprising for me
yeah,
to
I
see
mean,
that.
he's been playing fine, but he hasn't been playing like amazing by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he's definitely made some mistakes, and if we remember
Right.
just a few weeks ago at Cleveland, I mean, he was horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the crowd can think all they want, but at the end of the day, the Bears have clinched the number 1 overall pick, which means they get their pick at Caleb Williams. I think
Right.
he could be generational and also a lot cheaper. Justin Fields will be due a contract here soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would do. They did come out and say they're going to keep Matt Eberflus, so there was some report that
they
they're probably
really?
going to keep the coach, which also might be a little bit of a bad
Questionable?
move.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's really surprising.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. I'm a little worried. I really want to clean house and get an
Yeah.
offensive coach in, just like the Colts and the Texans. I mean, look at that. Like, both of those guys are first-year coaches. First
Right.
time the quarterback for both of those teams has been there. Gardner Minshew, not a rookie, but it's his first year with the Colts. I'd like a situation like that for the Bears next year. You know, maybe not quite as successful, but you'd have a new coach, you'd have a new quarterback. It would just feel good. So, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to keep Matt Eberflus, there's a higher chance you keep Fields. But with the first pick now in your cards, what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Bears general management has a lot of big decisions to make here.
Yeah, they
I mean,
really do.
I'm really not sure. They're certainly not the same team that they were at the start of the season. You know, they dropped many games very early on, and they have
Yeah.
won many late in
I mean,
the
if
season.
they beat Denver and they beat Cleveland, they beat that Detroit the first time, which they were humongous favorites
Yes.
in the fourth quarter. Like, statistically, I saw that losing all 3 of those games, they had a .003% chance
Right.
of. So if they win those 3 games, they would be in the playoffs. They would be like a 10-win team.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
that's
even
just
11-win
crazy.
team if they beat Green Bay this week. Craziness. But Miami at Baltimore, more craziness. Baltimore absolutely whomped the Dolphins.
Good pick here. I didn't see it coming, man.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be as like big of a blowout. It was a tough pick, I thought, both coming off big emotional wins. So it's kind of like that cancels out. Baltimore's at home. Baltimore's just dominated a lot of good teams this year. Miami, I thought, got lucky to beat Dallas. Take that away. They haven't beat anyone good. So, I mean, Baltimore is the unanimous number 1 team in the league, best team in the league. They are the number 1 seed. Lamar Jackson basically clinching the MVP in this game. 5 touchdowns, 3 incompletions. Josh Allen having a bad game, I thought. So I think, yeah, I mean, he pretty much locked it in with that game for sure, which will be his second MVP. Good for him. But we remember last time they were the number 1 seed, and last time he won the MVP, they got bounced in the first round by Ryan Tannehill and the Titans. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, Lamar Jackson's yet to win a playoff game.
That would be wild if they do get boinked out of the playoffs. in the
It's
first-
possible. I mean,
I guess it'd be in the second round since they've got
they got the bye,
Yeah.
so it would be in the second round again.
right.
Could be against Cleveland if Cleveland were to
I
beat
wanna see that,
Jacksonville.
dude. I would love
I
to
know.
see
I would
that.
love to see it too.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a whole lot else to add to that game. It was just kind of embarrassing because I picked Miami
really is.
and Tua just got. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he didn't have a good game,
Yeah,
but
just-
I mean, Jalen
his
Waddle's
best
out. They have a
performance.
lot of injuries, so that also contributes to
Yeah.
it. They're not looking good, but they are at home against Buffalo, so that's
Mm-hmm.
helpful. New Orleans at Tampa Bay. This one, I didn't feel great about this pick, but I just had something in my gut telling me that the Saints are going to pull it out, even though they're on the road. There's been a trend this year. Divisional rivalry games, the road team's been winning a lot more than traditionally. Like, let's think back to, there's a few examples of this. Minnesota beat Green Bay in Green Bay. Green Bay then goes and beats Minnesota at Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another example of that. I think there's a whole bunch of other examples of that, and it could happen again this week when Houston goes to Indianapolis to play the Colts. So yeah, I mean, Derek Carr played a clean game. I mean, Baker Mayfield scored a couple. I mean, he had those turnovers, but scored some garbage time touchdowns, which kind of screwed me over fantasy wise. But yeah, I mean, it felt like Tampa Bay had to come back down to earth one of these days.
Yeah, upsetting for me because I put a lot of stock in them this week with our, the best bets here of Tampa -2.5, which obviously they couldn't even win. I mean, they were looking so hot, and then they just decide to, just give up because I bet on them. And then Mike Evans, anytime touchdown, he couldn't even get one in garbage time. They went to Godwin, so tough week there for Tampa.
Yeah, not ideal, but they still could make the playoffs if they just beat Carolina, so pretty easy for them. New England at Buffalo, another crazy game. Buffalo really kind of squandered this first part of the game. Like, I mean, they got like 4 turnovers within the first quarter and a half or whatever it was, and they still were struggling to put New England away. Zappy played horrible.
They only got like 13 points off all those.
Yeah, I mean, it was disgusting. Josh Allen, I think he started like 0 for 6, maybe even worse than that.
And then I think it was 1 for 11. So.
You don't see that often with any quarterback, no matter how bad they are, whether it be Tyler or whatever. What was
Taylor
his name?
Heineke?
He's much better, but Tim Boyle of the Jets, like, who's even worse? Like, think about the worst quarterback. Jaron Hall didn't even start 1 for 11. So it's like that doesn't happen. And they were playing at home. Like, it just doesn't make sense
against
to me.
New England.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But New England's always kind of played Buffalo tough, and Josh Allen was like a running back to start off. I mean, he had 2 rushing touchdowns before he even had 10 yards passing. But yeah, I mean, they survive, and now they got the ultimate test.
Yeah, good stuff. I hope that Josh Allen can, lock in and get a win here against Miami.
You can't play like that again against Miami. You'll lose.
Absolutely not.
Arizona at Philadelphia. Wow, what a crazy game yet again here. Arizona was down like 21-6 or something like that. Come all the way back. I mean, Philadelphia's defense is just atrocious. Man, it was bad, really bad. I love the decision, by the way. I have to say, like, everyone's kind of condemning Arizona's decision to kick for the onside before. I mean, they could have like just kicked it off normally and stopped Philadelphia and then, tried to score and win themselves. But they opted for an onside kick. Philadelphia gets a field goal out of it, and then Arizona marches down the field and is able to win anyways. Yeah. I like that move, though, because it's like that perfect amount of time where if you did kick it all the way back for Philadelphia at the 25-yard line or wherever they ended up, it would almost allow them to like kill the clock much more than if you gave them like a shorter field and then stop them and force them to kick a field goal. Like, as stupid as it sounds, I do that a lot in Madden because my defense is so shit and I know I can't stop the team. And I know if I give them that at the 25-yard line, they'll just like kill the clock and water it down. But if I just kick the onside, not only do I have a chance of getting the ball back myself, but I know that I'll probably get the ball back again. And when you're in a situation like this where it's impossible for you to go down by 2 scores, it's just like, I like that call a lot, and like everyone's kind of criticizing him for it, but hey, it worked out. They won the game against all odds. So I really like that, and I think Arizona could end up being pretty good in the next couple of years here, and they start to rebuild.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah, I'm really surprised that Philly folded again here. They were letting up so many rushing yards, too. James Conner had a monster day. He had 128 yards, and he had touchdown rushing, and he had a receiving touchdown. So just a monster day out of him, and Philly their defense is really crumbling.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay beats them in the first round of the playoffs because they could really sling the ball, and that's where Philadelphia is at its weakest. They already played as well, and it's tough to be a team twice in the same season. So Philadelphia, I mean, I could end up being wrong about this, but it looks like they might be going home sooner than a lot of people thought, especially when they started like 11-1 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I agree.
Then we have Carolina at Jacksonville. What a gross game if you're Bryce Young and the Panthers. Bryce Young, man, everyone's got to stop defending this guy to the high heavens. Like, I understand he doesn't have the support that maybe CJ Stroud has, but he is not playing well. I mean, he played well against Green Bay, but Green Bay's defense is like Philadelphia's. It's not very good. And yeah, I mean, in this game against a Jacksonville team that's been pretty bad the last few weeks, he was horrible. And CJ Beathard just kind of choked him out.
Yeah, it was impressive to actually see Jacksonville do something for a change.
It felt good. It did.
Yeah, I know. T-Law finally not starting for once. And
yeah, they probably should have done this a long time ago.
for sure, and Jacksonville still comes in, takes care of business. I'm glad that I actually picked them because I really thought Carolina was going to keep it much closer. Honestly, if Trevor was playing, they might have kept it closer because Trevor, like, kind of...
He's been a turnover machine lately.
Yeah, I know. He's just kind of writing them out of games, but good for Jacksonville here, bounce back win, and I mean, they could have not made the playoffs had they lost a game like this. So.
Oh, yeah. It would be really precarious if they were to lose this game,
I know.
actually.
So thank God they actually clutched up and got a win here.
Yeah, now they just got to win again, and they're totally fine.
Yeah.
Vegas at Indianapolis kind of ended up being a closer game. Aiden O'Connell had a lot of yards and a lot of attempts. He had like over 40 attempts, but the Colts were able to hold him with a pretty efficient performance from Jonathan Taylor and Gardner Minshew. Some Minshew mania to be had in this game. And yeah, good to see them win this game, so that kind of builds up that matchup against the Texans this week and kind of just AFC South craziness. All three teams still able to win the division with the same record right now.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have a whole lot to add about this game, but I do want to mention for those of you who are in a dynasty league or one where you get to like take a keeper, I think that Jonathan Taylor would be a fantastic keeper for those of you who had a really late draft where we already knew JT was going to be out for the first few weeks. Like for example, I have a 10-man league and I took him in the 7th round.
Yeah, wow.
I mean,
he is value for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I love Jonathan Taylor as the keeper pick this year. Now, if you took him in the 1st or the 2nd round, not so much. There's not a whole lot
for all
of
those people who had their draft like a month out of the season, because remember he got hurt outside in like 2 weeks or something.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. So for those people who had it in their last 2 weeks of the before the season started, I think this would be a really solid value pick there. I mean, he could end up being a top 8 running back next year.
Yeah, he looks good. You know? He got some rest this season, so he's not as worn down as some of these other backs like Jacobs or I don't know. Tony Pollard seems a little bit run down lately. Some of these running backs, their shelf life is just kind of going through it. The Rams at the Giants somehow ended up being a crazy close game, and the Giants should have won it. But Mason Crosby missed a field goal at the end, and Tyrod Taylor also missed some throws. Otherwise, they would have easily won this game.
Yeah, I mean, that throw to Saquon that he had for the walk-in. The walk-in. Was it the 2-point conversion, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he misses that throw.
Yeah,
that was,
I can't believe they went for 2, to be honest.
Yeah, they probably just don't really have much to play for. They might as well go for the win, I mean.
But they're at home, though, and like your defense has been playing well. Picked off Stafford a couple times. Like I feel like you'd be better playing for overtime. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, at least it was an exciting game. The Rams survived. They probably could have afforded losing and then winning next week. But at least locking it in, they're good to go. And they're going to probably play the Lions, which is the matchup we've all been wanting.
Yeah, I would love to see that, dude. And I want the Rams to come in clutch here and get a dub.
You want the Rams to beat the Lions?
That. Yeah, I would like to see that.
Ooh,
You don't like that?
No, I don't like that. Dude, the Rams had their chance. They won the Super Bowl. I want the Lions to have some success now.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess Detroit hasn't really won a playoff game in many years.
Yeah, like 2 decades or some shit like that.
I think I just like Stafford more than
I like
Goff.
him too. I like them both. They're both good guys.
Yeah.
No problems with either of them. San Fran at Washington, kind of close to start off. It looked like Sam Howell was playing good, and then he, at like halftime, he was like, all right, time to go tank this game. We need the draft pick, whatever it was. And he started throwing picks. Brock Purdy bounced back with a good game. Looks like Christian McCaffrey got banged up a little bit, though. So hopefully he's good to go. But he'll have a whole nother week. And then actually he'll be off for like 2 weeks because they have the number 1 seed now. So, yeah, good stuff. Just kind of a throwaway game, though.
Yeah, so do you know why they even started Sam Howell? Is it truly just so they can get this better
No,
draft pick?
Jacoby Brissett had some like last minute injury.
That
So
sounds a little
it
shady.
does sound a little shady, but like, do we really think they would have had that much of a better chance?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, they snuck their way up to have a really good draft pick. They're gonna have the same record as like, who is it?
New England, maybe?
Yeah, New England. And then there's another team, maybe the Chargers or whatever. But their strength of schedule has been so bad that they have the edge over New England.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it might change though if New England and the Commanders both lose. The Commanders are playing a much better team than the Cowboys. Their strength of schedule could improve.
Right.
And New England might get the better pick.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that all plays out, even though I think New England will win. Arizona, okay, we already talked about that one. Where are we here? Pittsburgh at Seattle. Kind of a shootout in this one. Mason Rudolph, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer comes back yet again. I mean, it's just like he made his trip around the world and he's like, I'm not done yet.
He came back early, bro. He wanted he clutched up for Christmas and then he wanted to make another round for New Year's.
I know. I mean, very generous of him. No touchdowns, but played very efficiently, over 10 yards a clip. Really good to see out of Pittsburgh since they've struggled so much at the quarterback position this year. But man, if you're Seattle, like you put your playoffs on the line at home against probably an inferior team.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I just can't believe they choked this one away. I mean, I guess they were never really in, the lead, and Tyler Lockett had a bad game, which really hurt me. I thought he would kind of have a better game. So just ugly for the Seahawks.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's run game was really solid in this one. Najee had 2 tuds, and Jalen Warren, I think, had 1 tud as well. So good day out of them. In terms of the Seahawks, we kind of talked about this earlier, but what is their move in terms of their receiving core moving into next year? Who is going to be gone? You think they're going to release Tyler Lockett?
I mean, one of them has to go because they have JSN and DK. I think Tyler Lockett is the one to go. I mean, he just has not been showing down the stretch that he could compete or can be as explosive as their other 2 receivers. And he is the older one by many years. So
I mean, he's been in
makes
the league
sense.
for 10 years.
The other question is, what do you do with Geno Smith?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a long-term solution at QB, so
not.
They need to do something there as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you think Drew Lock's the answer, but I don't even think that he is.
He's not the long-term answer either. They need to draft someone.
They won't have good enough of a pick. I mean, yeah.
That's true.
I don't think they're going to have good enough pick.
Trade.
Yeah, trade for Justin Fields.
Dude, that would be wild if they did that.
Trade for Russell Wilson back. Is that crazy though?
Dude, what if that actually happened? Because Denver doesn't really seem
Denver's
like they
not
want
get rid
him.
of Russ.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is actually a crazy thought. No one's talked about that yet.
Dude, I would love to see that happen.
I would love it too. I mean, he was successful there. He leaves, struggles. I mean, why not just go back? Just admit it was a mistake. I mean, Seattle has had better success, I guess. So maybe they probably wouldn't want him back, but it's an interesting thought.
Maybe they would. Maybe you should include that in the title of this week's episode.
Maybe
Denver trades Russ back to Seattle? ?
Maybe we make a whole video about that, and then we get hired by Seattle's staff.
Dude, I would love that.
Or maybe we get hired by Russell's agents or whatever.
Yeah, that would be fire.
Get hired by someone. Cincinnati at Kansas City. Looked like Cincinnati was in control of this game. Patrick Mahomes fumbled. Kansas City gave up some points early on, but then they shut out Cincinnati in the second half, and Harrison Butker kicked them to a win here. Harrison Butker was just an absolute demon. He was trying to beat me in fantasy in the championship, actually. He was trying to bring his team back. It wasn't enough, but, I mean, I just keep looking at my phone. Harrison Butker kicks a field. I'm like, when's this dude going to stop? It's he's scaring me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
he tossed up
6 of them,
points. Yeah,
which is nuts. It was like the it was like the Dolphins kicker, against the Cowboys.
Jason Sanders.
Yeah, he was crazy.
I mean, good for them though. Just playing smart and not trying to be overly aggressive like some teams are. You'll never see Dan Campbell of the Lions kick 6 field goals.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have the patience for that. He's uber aggressive, and some other coaches are like that as well. But
the Chiefs are not looking like a winning playoff team right now, though.
No, I mean they have so much experience. I would still not be surprised if they find their way into the championship. I mean, they just have so much experience, and Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day is still Patrick Mahomes.
I don't think they're going to make it there. They're
who knocks them out?
I don't know who knocks them out.
So they're locked into the 3 seed. which means that they will play the 6th seed, which will either be the Bills or the Dolphins. Could also be the Steelers, I guess.
It's not going to be the Steelers.
I could see the Bills.
Bills are beating them. Bills are not losing to the Chiefs.
I mean, I would agree with that. I don't think that matchup's going to happen, though, because...
You think Buffalo will beat Miami, so you think that it will be the Chiefs against
the
Dolphins?
Yes. And I also think I think Pittsburgh's going to win, so if Buffalo doesn't beat Miami, then they're just going to be out of the playoffs altogether.
No, there's no way that's happening.
I mean, I hope not. I would hate to see the Steelers in the playoffs over Buffalo.
Yeah,
That'd
would
be
just
disgusting.
be atrocious. Buffalo just needs to be a little bit more consistent there with those wins.
They do. Yeah, I mean, they almost got beat by Zappy and Stick.
Yeah, I know. Dude, they win the crapo games super closely, but then they just pounds teams who are elite.
Yeah, like Dallas.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Stick, Chargers at Denver. We got Jared Stidham, so a little bit of a backup quarterback bowl here. I love my man Jared Stidham. Didn't play as big as I thought he would, but he played pretty well, actually. Had a touchdown and 224 yards, hit the over for me on Prize Picks, and so that was that. Good enough to win.
Yeah, that's good stuff there. Terrible game out of Austin Eckler, which just kind of coincides with his entire season, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably the worst pick in the 2023 fantasy drafts. I mean, sits out the first 4 weeks of the season, or after playing week 1, he's out for 4 weeks. He comes back. He's like 2 good games, and since then he averages like 6 points a game.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, I don't even think it's crazy. Like, Justin Herbert went out, and that doesn't help. But even with Justin Herbert, he was not playing that well.
Yeah, and you'd think that they would transition more to their run game if, Herb is out.
But they just can't. Like, he's better receiving than he's running. Yeah. But does that make the trade? Remember that trade I did with that girl in our league, Trevor Lawrence, for Austin Eckler? I mean, does that make it look any bit more fair? Because I know you thought I absolutely fleeced her.
I mean, it makes it look more fair, in hindsight. But of course, hindsight is 2020, and there's no way that at the time that trade was fair.
The true steal in that trade was Rashid Shaheed. He was a part of that, and I shipped off Juju Smith-Schuster. Rashid Shaheed's put up some big games for me.
So it was Trevor and Juju for Rashid Shaheed and Austin Eckler.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're smiling over there, so I can
Juju
tell.
Juju Smith-Schuster did have a touchdown after I traded him. He did not have any touchdown before.
Okay.
Just saying. It wasn't that bad. So, she needed a quarterback, though. That's why it was fair. Like, she had Ryan Tannehill and Mac Jones as her quarterbacks.
Yeah, no,
so,
garbage.
I told her, she doesn't know a whole lot about football, but she just loves taking players she had in the past. And I was like, you can't do that this year. You can't do that. And she did anyways, because she had Mac Jones and Tannehill, a couple years ago. And so I think she also had Kyler Murray a couple years ago. But man, tough. Anyways, Green Bay at Minnesota. Green Bay easily pulls it out. I still couldn't get over this line. It's one of those lines where it's I can't understand how they weren't favored, but then you start double checking yourself and start thinking backwards Vegas must know something we don't, something like that. But at the end of the day, nope, Green Bay was just that much better. And I was looking at alternate spreads for this. I took alternate spread at 2.5. I should have bid up all the way to 10.5. I mean, they were just dominating Minnesota.
Jaron Hall looked atrocious. He couldn't even throw the ball.
I don't know why they didn't start Nick Mullins.
I think it's just because of those turnovers that he's had. He just is a gunslinger. He will throw the ball all over the place, 400 yards.
He's way better than Jaron Hall.
Yeah, for sure. I
know he threw the 4 picks, but Nick Mullins' game honestly is dangerous for Green Bay because Green Bay's defense is so bad. Nick Mullins could have torn it apart. I mean, he didn't play great when he came in, but he just didn't have a big chance to really prove it.
Yeah, I mean, he really didn't do much. Even in the second half,
it's a tough spot to come into.
No, for sure.
I like Nick Mullins, but what I did like seeing was a shirtless Kirk Cousins on the Viking horn.
I missed that.
Oh my god, it was great. Shirtless Kirk Cousins with a chain around his neck, blowing into the Viking horn to initiate the game. That was the best part. And then capped off by Jordan Love drinking champagne in a top hat that says Happy New Year on it.
That is so saucy.
Oh my God. 2 sights that I was very blessed to
Yeah,
see.
no, very seductive sort of start to that game.
Yeah, I honestly can't tell which was more attractive, the shirtless Kirk Cousins or Jordan Love in the top hat.
That is a real brain twister, I must admit.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you think the answer is?
I'll have to show you the pictures in a bit, and then we could decide.
Okay.
Anyways, that's Week 17. Week 17 start and sits. I had Travis Etienne along with your dad, and we were on the same wavelength, and we nailed that. Although
Yes,
it wasn't
you did.
looking great until he broke off the 62-yarder, and then he had another touchdown even after that, so that felt good. Jordan Addison, I guess he was healthy, but because of their weird quarterback situation, I honestly thought they would play Nick Mullins, and they didn't until they benched Jaron Hall. I feel like if Nick Mullins started the game, Jordan Addison could have gotten a little bit more love.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, seeing Garrett Wilson was the play. He had a
Yeah.
few, like 5 catches?
Like I
for
think it was like 50
yards?
yards, yeah. But still, better games to be had there.
Oh, yeah.
Starting David Njoku was definitely the play, dude. Flacco went nuts with this guy. He tossed up like 138 yards
But
to
he fumbled.
Njoku. Well, okay, that's fine, but like
I know.
huge game out of him.
I hate when a guy's having such a good game and then they make one
Yeah.
mistake. It's like somebody's like 19 for 25 and like 5 touchdowns, and then they throw one interception. It's like,
right.
It's a mar on their great game.
I mean, that's probably like the most receiving yards he's ever had in a game, honestly. It might be.
Njoku?
Yeah.
It's possible, yeah. It's possible.
But starting Drake London was not the move. I really thought Atlanta would do a little bit more, but they evidently do not like to live in cold weather, so bad play there. Sitting Jared Goff, though, was still a good decision. I did say that I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was going to have like 3 rushing touchdowns against the Cowboys, and that did not happen, but...
Yeah, I thought they'd run the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously what Buffalo did to, shut down Dallas, but either way, Jared did not have a fantastic game. I think he only had 1 passing touchdown, so it was
2
good.
picks.
Yeah, good sitting
for
him
sure.
this week.
Best bets in terms of college football, Clemson. This was such a weird game. Clemson was losing by like 11 points. They come back and win, but only by like 3 or whatever it was. So the -5 did not hit. Mizzou +1. Oh my God, free money. Free money. Watching this game, agonizing though, because Ohio State, their backup quarterback got hurt. So third string Lincoln Keenholz came in and was absolutely garbage. So Mizzou easily won that game outright. I also loved Ole Miss +3.5 against Penn State. I can't believe why Penn State was favored in this game. They showed nothing the entire year to the point where they could beat a quality SEC team, and they lost by over 10. And then in terms of New Year's Day, Iowa, Tennessee under 36. Got lucky with this one. Not sure if you saw. Tennessee won 35-0,
yeah.
But they ended the game on Iowa's 3-yard line.
Oh, no way.
And it was like 4th down. It was 4th and goal.
Wow.
I'm like, what do you do here? Are you going to kick the field goal? I mean, there's like 3 seconds left. Like, what do you do? I was so flabbergasted. And they decided to run it, like just run it up the middle, and they got stuffed.
Vegas wanted it to go under.
They did, exactly. Or, the coach did for calling that play. So that hit. Now, my playoff picks were wrong, but I will say I'm happy with the outcomes. I would have been fine if Texas won, but I love seeing another face in there like Washington, and of course Michigan winning was definitely what I wanted, even though I'm supposed to hate Michigan as a Notre Dame alum. But I don't know, I just can't bring myself to hate them when Alabama is just so dominant over the last decade plus, and my ex-girlfriend went there, so I just hate them with every grain in my body. Moving on to NFL, Houston -3.5 easily hit. Green Bay money line easily hit. Detroit +6.5. I talked myself into this one during the show. That one easily hit. And then the Rams -6 did not. And yeah, that was not a good pick, but Giants just have been really good covering spreads lately. I mean, all the way back to that Green Bay game when they won outright. They didn't cover against New Orleans, but they covered against Philadelphia, covered here. I think they could cover again this week as well.
Yeah, dude. Nice winning week there.
Thank you.
Not so much out of me. I had 4 bets here and then the Magic Conch Bet. We already talked about Tampa Bay did not cover the spread. Mike Evans, no touchdown. Carolina didn't cover +7. They just got shut out by Jacksonville. Rough day for them. New England did cover +12. It did.
I like that bet.
Yeah, I mean, 12 points is a lot to give a team, and they already beat Buffalo earlier this year, so I was a fan of that.
I was live betting this, and it was at 17 or something.
Really?
19 or 20, 17 to 20.
No way.
Because it was fluctuating.
After the turnovers?
Yeah, and it was only like 13-7 at that point.
No way.
Or something like that. I wanted to take it. I didn't because of the turnovers. But man, that was just sometimes live betting is really the way to go. If you're watching a game, you can kind of get a feel for it because it tells a little bit more of a story than the numbers. But yeah, that was a really good pick.
Thank you. And then finally, closing it off, the Magic Conch Bet did not go under 36.5. We did actually get some feedback that the Magic Conch is broken, and to bet the opposite.
Heresy.
Yeah, not too happy with my dad for saying that one. We'll see what the listeners think about it. We'll still be betting what the Magic Conch says this week, and I'm sure it will redeem itself.
What game are we applying it to?
The first game of the week, so Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Oh man, this could be big for Buffalo.
Unless do you want to apply to the Buffalo-Miami game, like instead of doing it for the first game, should we apply to the I
think we should do it for either Houston, Indianapolis, or Buffalo, Miami, because those are the biggest games of the week.
All right. Well, I'll let you take your pick. Yeah, you can pick which one you want to apply to.
So that'll be at the end of the show, so stick around for that. But let's hop on in to our Week 18 picks. 2 Saturday games, starting with Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore resting all their starters after clinching the number 1 seed. So easily I'm taking Pittsburgh here. Plus, Pittsburgh's just really good in divisional games. And it's kind of crazy to think that it'll probably end up being 5 of their 6 or 5 of their 10 wins coming from these divisional matchups. I mean, let's think. They beat Cleveland once. Man, did they swept Cincinnati? If they beat Baltimore here, they'll sweep Baltimore. What was the second game against Cleveland? That's the real question.
I think they lost it. I think they're 4-1 against their division opponents.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just can't remember that game right now. The second one they had against Cleveland. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to take Pittsburgh. They got playoffs on the line. They're going to try hard, and Baltimore is not.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious pick here. NFL wants that to happen anyways because then there's pressure on the Buffalo at Miami game at night. So taking Pittsburgh Saturday, and then Buffalo has to win to make the playoffs on Sunday night.
That's exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Houston at Indianapolis. Huge game for the playoffs here. Whoever wins this game is guaranteed a playoff spot, a wild card at least. If Jacksonville were to lose, the winner of this game becomes the AFC South winner. So kind of like an AFC South championship game if Jacksonville were to lose. I don't think Jacksonville will lose, so this is for a wild card here. And even though it's at home, I'm going to take Houston. Like we touched on, there's a trend this year. More teams in these rivalries are winning on the road, losing at home. And Indianapolis has just not been very impressive. I didn't like how they played against the Falcons, which I don't think, was that at home? Anyways, either way, did not like that. They barely escaped, honestly, against the Raiders, who's not very good in my opinion, even though they beat Kansas City. And yeah, I mean, I love Minshew Mania and all that, but I got to pick with my brain here. I'd like to see the Colts win, but CJ Stroud, too, NFL wants to be in the playoffs because he's an exciting rookie and is just a better star than Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, that's exactly my thoughts there. I'm taking Houston because Houston, it would be crazy for them to go from being like the worst team in the league or very close to it to now being in a playoff position just the very following year. Monster appearance out of them would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, huge stakes in this game. Offensive rookie or rookie of the year is on the line, I believe. So it's either going to be Puka or CJ Stroud. So CJ Stroud, tosses 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think he takes it away from Puka. Yeah. Even though he missed a couple games. Sunday, Atlanta at New Orleans. Another big game for playoff implications if Tampa Bay loses. I don't believe there's really any way if Tampa doesn't lose, either of these teams can make the playoffs. Atlanta definitely can't because they'd be 1 game back. New Orleans, they'd be 9-8. They'd have to want Seattle and Green Bay to lose. So basically, New Orleans has to win and have a lot of stuff happen. They basically have to have 3 teams lose or 2 or 3 teams lose. I'm gonna tilt pick them. They did lose against Atlanta when I was in Atlanta, but Atlanta's been trending down. New Orleans has been much better as of late. They could have won so many more games this season. Really disappointing for them, but I'm going to take them to finish off strong here. Derek Carr's been looking really good.
Good pick, good pick. I'm going to take Atlanta. This is honestly more of a pick out of their playoff probabilities. It's actually lower. They have only a 10% chance of making the playoffs, and I just want to see something like that come through for me. So
that would be wild.
Yeah, so Falcons probability is sitting at 10% right now, Saints 31%, and the Bucks are at 69%. So I guess it is kind of what you said, that if the Bucks lose and then the Falcons win,
then would win the AFC or NFC South.
Correct. Yeah. So that's kind of a lot going on there. But yeah, so we're going to just take the Falcons this week. I'd like to see a team with only a 10% chance to make it in the playoffs get there this week.
That would be nice. It's possible for sure.
Yeah.
Cleveland at Cincinnati. Cleveland resting all their starters most likely. Cincinnati's a big favorite in this game, who's not resting really anybody. Jake Browning's still playing hard for his future in the NFL. So I like Cincinnati big in this game for sure, especially since they're at home.
Good pick. Yeah, definitely fair. I think that Cleveland will still have at least some of their defensive players in there, and their defense is just so ungodly good that they're gonna still try to shut down Cincinnati's offense at least a little bit. So I would still like to see Cleveland here get a win.
Then we have Jacksonville at Tennessee. Jacksonville has to win this game to really make the playoffs. There is a situation, if they lose, they could still make it as a wild card, but it's a lot more precarious that way. You got to go into Tennessee, a much inferior team. You got to win this game. Trevor Lawrence likely back, pushing all the chips to the center of the table here in this one, even though I think CJ Beathard's, totally fine backup. And if Trevor is not fully healthy, I think CJ could still win this game. But you got Ryan Tannehill at home. That's a little dangerous to me. That one scares me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly dangerous for them, but they have so much riding on this game that they really are going to, I feel like they have to get this win. I mean, Tennessee doesn't have anything to play for other than, jobs and player incentives, I guess. So I think Jacksonville is going to come into Tennessee and they're going to win here.
I agree. Tampa Bay at Carolina. This is another one. If Tampa Bay wins, they're 100% in, just like Jacksonville. If they lose, that other game becomes a South Division championship. It's actually crazy. It's the exact same thing as the AFC South, just in the NFC. If they win, though, all is forgiven. Everything is good, even though you got shut out by New Orleans in the first half. And yeah, Bryce Young just not looking good. Even though they're at home, they could be a little dangerous. Nothing to lose. They don't own their first-round pick, but Tampa Bay's going to play hard. And it reminds me of last year, the second and last week to the year, they needed to beat Carolina, and they did in order to make the playoffs. A big Tom Brady game, 4 touchdowns, I think it was. Lots of action to Mike Evans. That was one of my favorite games last year, and so I think they take care of business here again.
All right, good pick. I'm actually going to take Carolina, though.
You should tell them while you're being so adverse to me this week. You should just tell everybody.
All right, that's fine. So we are going against Rhett's picks this week because on the year I am down 8 games. So I had to strategically make 9 of them different so that if all 9 of them come through for me, then I would take the year victory.
Could be wild, dude. What is the chance of that? If it's 10% for Atlanta to win the division or whatever it is.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's highly unlikely that I get these 9 right. What I should have done is taken everyone opposite you because there's better likelihood that you go on like a 7-9 week than me strategically picking the 9 games you get wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point.
But I didn't want to do that for the pod. I feel like I still have reasonable explanations for all of these games, though. Okay.
You should go into DraftKings or whatever and put in these 9 games and see how crazy the odds are because the underdogs, Cleveland's a 5.5 point underdog, Atlanta, multiple point underdog. New England here is a favorite. Yeah, so let's get on to that New England game. You're going to take a look at the odds, but Jets at New England. This one's a little scary for me. I do think the Jets have a decent chance to win this game, but the Jets have struggled immensely against New England for years and years and years. And I think that the Patriots are still, they never seem like they want to tank or lose games. They're always still playing for stuff, Whereas the Commanders, I could totally see, like, they seem to be tanking sometimes in some places. I just never see that with New England. So I'm going to take them here at home up there in the gnarly weather.
I like that pick, dude. I'm also going to go with New England. I'm also
See, this
wondering,
is one I would flip on. Like,
really?
out of all the picks, like, I would have chosen this one to flip against me instead of the Carolina game.
But like I feel like, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like this could be like the Tampa Bay Carolina game. I think that Tampa could actually like feasibly lose this.
They could. I mean,
and I think that it would just make it all the more interesting for that Atlanta New Orleans game, seeing what ends up happening,
I mean,
who's going to make the playoffs.
on. Are the games going on at the same time? There's a whole bunch of 3:25 games this week. Super weird. There's only like a handful at 12 noon, and then there's an absolute boatload at 3:25. But anyways, moving on. Minnesota at Detroit. Gonna definitely take Detroit, even though they probably are going to rest some starters or at least not play them through the entirety of the game. So that does kind of worry me here in terms of picking them. But yeah, that's why this week is such a crapshoot. You have no idea how long Jared Goff is going to play. How long is Jalen Hurts going to play? Because if Dallas beats Washington, then Philly has nothing to play for. So it's like a lot going on this week in terms of that. It's literally like bowl season in college football when there's so many opt-outs. You just really have a hard time picking these games. But I'm going to still roll with Detroit. I mean, I don't even know who their backup is at this point. But
yeah, definitely the smarter pick here. Minnesota has the lowest playoff probability of any team that's still alive.
I cannot believe they're still alive.
Dude, they have a whopping 3% chance.
Oh my God, it's Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is actually good.
Wow, dude. Maybe... Oh, he used to be on the Vikings, no?
He was on the Vikings. He was on the Saints. He was on the Dolphins. He's actually a really good backup, so I have no problem now taking Detroit.
Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot I can say about this game. I feel like this one was more of just a strategic sort of pick.
He was on the Broncos too. He's always been good. Chicago at Green Bay.
I'm a little surprised at your pick for this one, though.
I'm letting my homerism come out. Being a homer here, dude.
Yeah, you definitely are, bro, because the Bears are out of it, and Green Bay is not. So Green Bay needs to get the win here.
Let's remember, though, last year, Detroit at Green Bay, final game of the regular season, all Green Bay had to do was win and they make the playoffs and knock Seattle out. Detroit was already eliminated by Seattle winning earlier in the day. Mm-hmm. They were eliminated, but they still beat Green Bay in their own building. I think it was in their own building, knocking them out of the playoffs. Chicago wants nothing more to go out of the regular season on a high note, knocking their divisional rival out of the playoffs. Justin Fields, like we talked about, playing for his NFL life. Matt Eberflus might be safe, but he still needs to put up a good showing here. Chicago's been one of the toughest teams analytically in the league. Like, the analytics love them right now. Like, I bet if we started the season over again, like, let's say we just started playing like a whole new slate of games, Chicago would come out like as one of the tougher teams, like probably a top 15 team.
Right.
And like we said, lots of divisional games that are going to the road teams this year. So I'm going to take Chicago.
Yeah, that's a fair pick. You know, if the playoffs were structured the way that they are in college, I feel like the Bears would be in it.
Yeah, I mean, if we just pick the best 14 teams, it's very possible that they could be in it. I think they could, you know, edge ahead of maybe Jacksonville or the Colts or the Saints or the Bucs, some team, some fringe team like that.
Yeah.
Because they certainly have been playing really, really well, especially in these kind of more like even environments. Against Cleveland, it was just a tough place to play. But I think Green Bay here, divisional game like we talked about, man. I don't know. I'm probably just being too much of a homer.
You might be, dude, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Seattle at Arizona. This one also, I kind of want to take Arizona, but I'm not going to overreact to their big win. Seattle still has a chance to make the playoffs, and if Green Bay does lose, then Seattle really would love to win this game and make the playoffs. Man, for them, 2 years in a row coming down to the wire in Week 18, seeing if they can make the playoffs or not. So I don't really care if they make it or not. Like, I think as long as the Rams are in, Seattle's just, they're not super exciting. Neither really is Green Bay. I'd honestly rather see New Orleans in over both of them, but I'm going to take them to win here. But Cardinals have been looking decent lately.
Yeah, I could definitely see Seattle winning this game. It would kind of be fitting with the rest of their season, how they have those comeback from behind victories to sneak into the playoff, or like the comeback victories to win the game, like against the Eagles and, that other game that they did it. And then if they did a similar thing here, they win in the final week of the season to sneak into the playoffs. Yeah. It would kind of come full circle for them. But that being said, I'm still going to take Arizona. I liked what I saw last week against Philly. Yeah. So we're going to roll with them.
I mean, ultimately, it comes down to who's the stronger bird. Is it a Cardinal or is it a Seahawk?
I mean, at the end of the day, I do think that it's going to have to be a Seahawk. They just seem like they got more girth in their beak, like a bigger chomper.
Well, you're picking the Cardinals, though.
I'm picking the Cardinals because I need to pick 9 different from you.
The Seahawks not even a real bird, though.
But if it were a real bird, it would be fearsome.
That's probably true. I mean, being tough, out there on the coast and all that. Arizona Cardinal just down there in the nice hot desert.
Exactly.
Rams at San Francisco. This one I found to be very hard to pick because both teams have no incentive to start any of their players. San Fran already locking down the 1 seed. The Rams locking down the wild card.
They could move up. They could move up. The Rams could move to a division winner.
No.
Or could they move up to the... No. They can move up 1 single seed.
I don't believe so because they are at 9 wins and the Eagles and the Cowboys are at 11 wins. So they would have to... They're locked in.
I read an article that said that they could have moved up to 1 more seed, I thought.
Let me check this here real quick.
Are they the 6 or the 7 seed?
They're the 6 as it stands right now. They could maybe slip back, but I don't really think they care all that much because if they were to lose Stafford, it would be worse than having to play the 7th seed.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, the Rams are at 9 wins. The Eagles and the Cowboys are both already at 11. So even if they do win and the Eagles and the Cowboys lose,
so maybe there was only slipped down a wild card spot.
But even at that, so they're already 1 game ahead of the Packers, Seahawks, and Saints. So if they all ended 9-7, it would go to their conference records. The Rams are 7-4 in conference, which is already 1 game better than the Packers, Seahawks, and 2 games better than the Saints. So they are 100% locked into the 6th seed then, and therefore have no reason to play.
All right, well, you got me there, bro. I don't know what kind of article I was reading. Maybe it was from some spam website.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe before some of the other games happened, before the Green Bay game and the Minnesota game. I don't know. But
maybe it was an outdated article.
I'd love to see Stetson Bennett make the start because he was the national championship winning quarterback at Georgia the last couple of years. So I'd love to see him maybe sneak in and start this game against Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. I like Sam Darnold. He's been a starter for many years in the league. And so I went from picking the Rams to San Fran just because the Rams are such a fringe team. If they were to lose Kupp or Puka or Stafford or Kyron Williams or Aaron Donald, they're done. They cannot afford to lose any of those players. And I mean, that goes for a lot of teams, but I think it's a little bit more applicable for some than others. And I just don't believe maybe Stafford comes out and plays a series or 2. Right. But I'm going to take the 49ers just because they have more experience with their backups at Sam Darnold.
I don't even know how I can follow that explanation, man. I mean, my entire pick reasoning was based on the fact that I thought the Rams could move up a seed.
I mean, they could still very easily win. They could still win.
Yeah, I mean, I do have the Rams on here, but I'm honestly questioning that pick now. Anyways, I did input the odds into FanDuel here.
Let's hear it.
So it's a whopping plus 203,000 odds.
Oh my God.
For these 9 teams to win that are different from you.
So if you bet $1, what is that?
So $1 would pay out $2,023.
Oh my gosh,
or
dude.
$32, yeah.
That's crazy.
Are you going to do it?
I mean, it's very possible to happen just because I always have some bad juju.
These games are so hard to pick this final week.
I know, it is. It's goofy. It's really goofy. It's going to tank my good record. I'm probably going to go down 63%.
Dang, dude.
I don't want that.
I should have bet all 16 teams opposite from you.
That would have given you a better statistical chance.
It definitely would have.
Because I've gone 7-9 or 8-8.
I know, yeah.
Oh, well. It'll be fun.
It would have made for a very difficult episode, though, because how am I going to say, I think that, the Giants are going to win, and I think that Chargers are going to win, and every one of these
show
games.
the competitiveness of the Sorcerers,
Yeah.
So, anyways, Denver at Vegas. I like Denver. You know I like Jared Stidham, and so I like them to roll into Vegas here. Remember, road games, divisional rivalries. I like Denver here, even though Vegas beat Denver in game 1 of the regular season. What a nice symmetrical season for them too.
Yeah, that would be kind of cute. I have Vegas here because I didn't really care for Stidham last week. Stiddy, yeah, not a fan of him. I think he's just too inexperienced, and it's again like a raccoon game. Neither of these teams have anything to play for.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna roll Vegas here. Not a whole lot of thought behind this though.
Yeah, I hear you. Philadelphia at Giants. I almost wanted to take the Giants in here because remember we were talking about this a few weeks ago. I wanted to take them when they were playing in Philly against the Eagles,
and it's hard to beat a team 5 times in a row.
Yes, exactly. I was like, if they're going to win one, though, it's going to be this one when they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about, if Dallas beats Washington, a game that I think we skipped, actually, my bad, then Philadelphia has no incentive to play. I think the games are going on simultaneously, though, so it's like, I mean, what do you do here? Like, you wait to see like how Dallas and Washington plays out, and then you make a halftime adjustment. I don't know. I think Giants is a good pick, honestly, but Philadelphia has been really dominant, and it's in the best interest for the Giants to lose this game to better their draft stock. So, I don't know. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. The Giants should lose this game to improve their draft pick, but Philly has looked absolutely terrible, and again, I mean, they're already locked into their playoff spot as well, or at least not into their spot, but they're locked into the playoffs. Rather.
Yeah, they are.
So
I mean, Dallas would have to lose and they would have to win in order to switch with Dallas.
Yeah, and I don't really think that it's too essential for the Eagles to do that anyways.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Dallas will play, they're the 2 seed, so they'll play the 5 seed.
Right.
No, they'll play the 7 seed, my bad. They'll play the 7 seed, which will be a crap team anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Philadelphia's got to play Tampa Bay, honestly.
Mm-hmm. And so I know we did skip this game, but we both have Dallas against the Commanders here. I mean,
yeah,
they still want to get the dub. Washington is terrible, so not a hell lot else to say about that one.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams play in the final week of last season. Dallas sat their starters, and this was the first game Sam Howell ever starred as a professional, and he actually won it. But I don't believe he'll be able to do so now because Dallas still has incentive to play.
Yeah.
KC at LAC, the Chargers. I like the Chargers here. They are favored. Again, the Chiefs are locked into the 3 seed. They can't move up. They can't move down. And so they're going to rest everybody again. If they lose Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, or Mahomes, Chris Jones, they're pretty much done. So they can't let that happen. I'd be surprised if any of those players saw the field this week. So I'm going to take Mr. Stick and the Chargers.
We're also going to take the Stick Man here. I think that Kansas City has really shown a lot of drop ball action. MVS had one last week. It was just embarrassing, dude. I hate watching the Chiefs' offense these days. I mean, they're just looking atrocious.
I'm so much better with them in Madden. Like, I could play with them in Madden, dude. I put up 35 points on the Broncos and shut them out today. 5 touchdowns from Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't know that the Chiefs have put up 35 points like in any game this entire season.
Honestly, I don't think so. It would have had to been like really early.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe against the Chargers, the first time they played, Mahomes had his best game of the season that year, or that game. It was at least into the 30s.
I can pull up their schedule here.
Jake's got the answer here.
Rolling back to, so where do we want to roll back to? Oh, the Super Bowl they put up 38, but I know that's
that was
really
a different
relevant.
team, even though they didn't have great receivers in the Super Bowl either, or last season in general.
Preseason they put up, oh wow, the week 3 against the Bears they put up 41.
41, that's right.
I remember that.
Go back to that Chargers game. It was like
Chargers
week 7
they put
or
up
8.
31.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the only other, the only one against the Bears.
Of course.
Yeah.
When the Bears were much worse and the Chiefs were much better. It's kind of weird how teams just go in so separate ways as the season goes on. I think the Bears would be only
averages, baby.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears would probably only be like 4-point underdogs to the Chiefs at this point in the season if they played on a neutral site, which is kind of crazy to think. But
I don't even know if they'd be that much, dude.
And yeah, very much so. Could be 2.5, 3 points.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see them play now.
That would be good.
Buffalo at Miami, the absolute Giga Chad game of the week here.
The only one
for all
that
the
feels like
marbles.
it's like a really important game.
Yeah, I mean, I like Houston and Indianapolis, though. I mean, both of those teams, like, you lose, you're out. You win, you're probably in, I think. And so
Yeah.
this one as well. I mean, Buffalo could either be 2 seed or they could be no seed, which is
Crazy.
just also kind of crazy how that works out. Miami, on the other hand, they could be the 5 or 6 seed, depending on if Cleveland wins or loses or whatever happens there. But they are still guaranteed a playoff spot. Just it might not be for the division victory and not going to be a home game. But
Right.
I'm going to take Buffalo. Miami has a lot of injuries going on. They obviously haven't looked great the last few weeks, even though they did beat Dallas. And I do like them to bounce back in some way, but Buffalo really needs this. But, I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's really tough to pick this game because if Pittsburgh loses, their motivation to win this does diminish a little bit. Because if Pittsburgh were to lose and they were to lose as well, I think they'd still make it. So it's crazy picking these games. It's going to be a fun, wild, chaotic week no matter what. And that's just the best part.
I need Buffalo to win this game, so I'm taking them. I have a bet placed on Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. $50 to pay out $1,100, and
That's
I know
humongous.
that Buffalo wants me to, have that nice payday.
Yeah, dude, you got the Josh Allen jersey.
Dude,
so.
exactly. I'm going to be wearing the Josh Allen Magic jersey. Hopefully, it's more magical than the Conch
Conch.
was last week.
Well, we're gonna see here, dude.
Yeah.
I want the Conch to determine this game.
Okay.
So
Should I spin it now? Or should
yeah,
I
just
wait
spin it
till-
out while
All
we're
right.
talking about it.
All right. Magic Conch. What's the play for the Buffalo Miami game?
Underdog.
She's thinking, bro. Is Buffalo the underdog?
No,
Oh, the over.
I like the over.
Okay.
I could vibe with
What
that.
is the over in this game?
It's probably like 50,
50?
maybe 51.
That does sound pretty accurate.
If I'm Vegas, I'm putting this one pretty high because the Dolphins' defense is riddled with injuries, and Buffalo's defense just got like 21 laid on by the Patriots and Zappi that turned the ball over 4 times.
And the last time they played, I think the total was 68. So,
And it's 50 right on the dick.
wow, dude. Look at
that,
you.
dude. I'm basically Vegas.
Good stuff, bro. Good stuff there. So you like the over in this game, though?
I do. I like it a lot. I love the over, actually. It's in Miami. If it was in Buffalo, it would be a different story, but it's in Miami, and that is going to provide for some good weather unless you get a fluke rainstorm.
Well, I am adding that now. Sunday Night Football, Magic Conch Bet, Buffalo and Miami, over 50.
I support the Conch.
All right, so I know my dad
We're
is
going to
saying
prove your
to
dad wrong.
go against the Conch, but we're not listening to him this week.
Absolutely not.
We're rolling with the Conch.
Alrighty. Week 18 start and sits. Again, it's so hard to say like what they're going to do, but I just went for 2 teams that have receivers playing meaningful games and 2 teams with receivers playing non-meaningful games. George Pickens for the Steelers, Nico Collins for the Texans, start them both. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Rashee Rice most certainly probably won't see too many snaps in their game, so I'd like you to sit them proactively. You might see their projections maybe a little bit down, but not like fully down, so you might feel tempted to start them if you're in some weird wacko league with some goofy-ass commissioner like myself here who makes everyone play in the Week 18 and battle through all these sits and all that shit.
Yeah.
I really am a bad commissioner, but I just love having a longer season, I mean, just
Right.
long playoffs, 8 teams make the playoffs. No waivers either. Just pick it up, you just raw dog
That's
it.
because, we play with people who aren't super familiar with fantasy, and
Yeah.
that way you can immediately go snatch those guys
I
that you
know.
want.
Except that one clown who just dropped his entire team once I beat him in the playoffs.
Little fire sale on the waiver wire.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, that was before the playoffs, but yeah, fire sale indeed, Zombo style.
Yeah.
Ray gun, thunder gun, dude. He dropped everything.
He went crazy.
Anyways, what are your starting sits?
Yeah, so I went and I looked at a little player incentive for my start, and DeAndre Hopkins, if he gets 7 receptions this week, he gets an extra, I think, 250 racks. If he has I think it's another touchdown, he gets another 250 racks. And then if he gets 50 receiving yards, another 250 racks.
This could be a 750 rack day for him.
I know, yeah. So a monster day for D-Hop. Or he's got a lot to play for at least. So I think Tannehill is going to be getting him the ball.
Dude, that's actually super smart.
Yeah.
I love that pick.
Yeah, thank
love
you.
that.
Yeah, that was really the only one that I thought was super relevant. A lot of the other ones were like defensive ones. I think OBJ actually had like a player incentive, but I was like
Yeah.
worried to pick it because the Ravens don't have anything to play for. So
Yeah, I
like,
mean, it'll be interesting to see because they don't really have too many receivers. So
right,
even though OBJ has not been an amazing receiver for them, he is
hmm
technically wide receiver 2.
right,
I don't know,
yeah,
maybe Rashad Bateman. I don't know, whatever.
yeah.
No, I do. I love that pick.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm very excited about that one. And then next, I'm also starting CJ Stroud here. So his game is obviously very meaningful. I think this could be a very high scoring game where CJ's got to put up a lot of points to stay with it. I almost think that this could be like a 33-31 kind of finish in this
Yeah,
Houston
I like the
Colts
over in
game.
it.
Yeah, that could be just a wild one. So I think that CJ will have a good game, a lot of touchdowns here. And then finally, I'm sitting George Kittle. I don't know, he probably won't even play in this 49ers
Yeah, I mean, I like that
Rams
same
game.
kind of methodology as with
Yeah.
Rashee Rice and St. Brown.
Right.
Good stuff. Moving on to our best bets. Tough week picking, but I'm going to take
Yeah.
Denver plus 2.5. I think they'll win outright, but take the points. I like the Giants plus 5. They could win outright. Chicago plus 3. They could win outright, but take them with the points. And there's some good opportunities this week, but you really got to make sure you know who's starting and sitting before you bet. And even then, they could be starting and then benched like within 5 minutes of the game. So it's really tough this week. Don't be too harsh on us, but here's a big pick. Montana plus 12.5 against
Ooh.
South Dakota State in the FCS College Championship game. This is like, just imagine a Super Bowl where one team is 12.5 point favorites. Like, when does that happen?
That's wild, bro.
Like, isn't that crazy?
That's like when I picked the Raiders to beat
Yes,
the Chiefs.
exactly. And they did. So
Yeah.
all the more reason that Montana could cover the spread. I mean, I don't
Will
think
they
the
win this
gap-
game, though?
No.
Could they win? No, they're
They
not.
could. I mean,
Okay.
the gap between South Dakota State and Montana, I don't think is that much. I mean, both are really good teams for sure. South Dakota is having a perfect season. They're 14-0, but that's just a lot of points to give in any championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to make my picks here for the national championship, the FBS national championship. I'm going to take Michigan minus 2.5. They are favored by 4.5 as it stands. I would not be surprised if that gets bet down anyways, but I'm just going to bite it down to 2.5 because I could see them winning on a field goal. I would hate to get stunked by the hook or 3.5 or 4 or 4.5. I'm just going to 2.5 call today. Alternative spread. Wait till the last minute to bet this though, because I think the spread will narrow. And I'm going to take the over 55.5. Washington's defense is not great. And then I think Washington's passing game is great, and they should be able to put some points up against Michigan. This seems like a 35-27 type of game for me. I don't know, maybe a little lower scoring than that, but
Yeah.
I like the over.
Good picks there, dude. I was too afraid to put any spread coverage or money line picks here in my best bets.
Wise.
So I've just got 2 over-under style bets. The New England at the Jets game here is over-under is set at 30.5.
Oh.
That is like the lowest line I've seen this season in at least one of them. So I'm going to take the under here. This could be at like a kind of like the Broncos game from last week, like a 16-7 or 16-9 finish here. So I think that this one will go under 30.5. And then Seattle and Arizona, I really like this one to go over 47.5. Another one I think should be a lot higher scoring. This one feels like one of the teams is getting up into the 30s.
Yeah, especially playing in Arizona. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, after Arizona puts up 35 against the Eagles,
Yeah, some good picks here. Hopefully they pull through. But guys, it's a tough week. Don't be too hard on us, all right?
Yeah, very difficult week to pick here.
So that's all we have. You have any closing thoughts? Final week of the regular season. We'll be back, though, for the playoffs, so don't worry.
Yeah, I'm excited to figure out what, we come up with for the playoffs. Like, we're
It'll
probably not going to
be a
do
shorter show.
Yeah, I don't think we can really feasibly do fantasy starts and sits anymore.
No.
I mean, right? Because
Probably
most
not.
people don't do fantasy through the playoffs.
No, but maybe like we get a little bit more exact with some like player predictions or some bets, some prop bets, stuff like that.
Yeah, they'll probably have
You
prop
know,
bets
like-
posted earlier in the week for some
Right.
of these playoff
We'll
games.
do like a
so-
Super Bowl, like how long does this song last? Stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, that would
yeah,
be
how many
fire.
songs does whoever's playing
Yeah,
play
yeah.
or sing or whatever?
I think it's Usher this year at the halftime
Oh.
show.
When are they gonna have Dua Lipa? Like that's the
That's
real
your
question,
fave, bro.
I mean, it's my most likely to be at a Super Bowl favorite. Like my favorite artist would never be able to be at a Super Bowl, but in terms of popularity and just widespreadness, Dua Lipa checks all the boxes.
But so who's the favorite artist though?
Probably like Martin Garrix, or I think Martin
Okay.
Garrix is probably my favorite, and he's
More of
just
a
a
DJ
Yeah,
guy,
he's just
yeah.
a DJ. Calvin Harris. I think the Chainsmokers have a good chance, maybe. I mean, they're pretty popular.
Yeah, I like the
But Dua Lipa
Chainsmokers.
definitely. I mean, she just checks the boxes.
You should propose it. Maybe we really need the listeners to start liking our videos, get some more popularity here, so then
And then
our
we're like,
voices
all right.
become much stronger and they will listen to you with your Dua Lipa Super Bowl suggestion.
Send Russell Wilson back to Seattle. Have Dua Lipa at a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Dude, why aren't they paying us for these ideas?
exactly. Dude,
I mean-
this sounds like the video title. I'm telling you right now. That will get so
Dude,
many.
just like completely scrap. I got like uber prepared for this video. I have
Oh,
the
wow.
titles prepared for Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.
Holy cow.
I'm ready to go. We got Ravens drown Dolphins.
Oh, my.
Cowboys-Lions thriller. Playoff picture. Bills, Jordan Love, Texans-Colts matchup, and best game/spreads to bet on NFL Week 18 predictions and Week 17 review.
That is
Of
quite
course,
the
you have
title.
to shorten it down for Apple, shorten it down even more to YouTube, but basically follows that. And yeah, excited about this week. Not excited about the year coming to a close, though, because it's been fun doing this, but we will persist. Got some high stake games, some more meaningful, hopefully some better games, because honestly Week 17 was pretty trash.
Yeah, no, I
Honestly,
agree.
it was pretty bad.
But yeah, thanks
So-
for tuning in to us for 18
Yeah.
straight weeks here.
Yeah, reach out if you have done that. I'd love to know if we have some consistent viewers.
Yeah.
I'd
My-
love some more comment action.
My girlfriend actually said she wanted to send in a comment.
Really?
Yeah, she said that she was like going to send in something wild,
Ooh.
like not even like a start and sit prediction, just something that would really like rattle you, get you so frambommeled that you wouldn't even know how to address it
Just
in
get me
the
riled
pod.
up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So
I just checked the email.
no,
I
she
didn't get
hasn't. She has
anything.
not sent
yet.
it. No, I don't even think it'll be today. But I'll probably have to go talk to her and get her to send something that will really just floor you for the playoff picture
Yeah,
next
dude, I
week.
want to get frambommeled.
Yeah, we'll cook up something good.
Oh, we will, for sure. All right, guys, thanks as always for listening, and we will see you soon for another episode.